Hello out there. Welcome to Voices from the Vortex. I'm Matt.
And I'm Taylor.
Hi, Taylor.
Hi, Matt.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm great.
Me too. We're going to talk about Season 4 today. This is a really good season.
Oh, the best.
Yeah, it is very, very good. Not only in just story-wise, but, like, the way it looks, you know, camera quality and just... And, you know, I feel like almost like a movie quality almost, you know?
They really went out of their way in this season for production value. You can see it. You can see the bigger budget. You can see the better quality film. You can see it in the trailers for the season where it's all very dramatic and it's very, you know, almost like a movie. And you can tell we're finally getting to the end of Russell T Davies' run on Doctor Who. We're finally getting to the serious stuff later in life. End of Tennant's journey.
Mm-hmm. Now, how soon did we know, like, it was going to be the end? Was it, like, at the beginning of the season they were like, this is the last one? Or...
No, it was a little more like, okay, we got about halfway through the season, and we were kind of coming up on the Silence in the Library stuff, and they said, well, you know, instead of there being another season next year, we don't know what's going to happen. David Tennant's going to go off and do this thing for Shakespeare, and, you know, we're all kind of sitting around like, okay, you know, what does that mean? So there were thoughts that this was the final season, and as we'll get to the episode, we'll mention it, part one of the two-part season finale. You know, when we get there, and there's a moment where you will swear the next episode's got to be a new Doctor, you know, and it's a really good. It's a really good week. You know, that aired on a Saturday. It took an entire week to find out what was going to happen. There wasn't even a trailer until Friday before the airing of the next episode. So most of us were screaming, throwing things across the room, going, the hell? You know, there can't be no, it's David Tennant! You pulled one off our son of Russell! And, no, then we, you know, they give the obvious answer to what really would have happened, and you're like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, all right. And that's when it was announced that Tennant would do doing a whole year of just specials. It would be another 5 episodes.
Yeah. This season's a little different. You have your 13 episodes, and then you also have these 4 specials.
5.
5 of them?
Part 1 and Part 2.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah. 5 specials that sort of went over the next year, which kind of would have infuriated me a little bit. Like, I have to wait in between for all these episodes.
Well, and it wasn't even like, hey, wait 6 months and then you'll get all 5. It was, okay, we just finished. It's almost Thanksgiving. We just finished Doctor Who. Your next episode's at Christmas, and you're like, yeah. And then your next episode's at Easter, and what? They're like, oh, it's going to be a year of Doctor Who. Next episode after that's Thanksgiving. And we all just kind of went, son of a bitch, that's not a year of Doctor Who. That's like a little bit of a year, and then nothing for summer.
I know, yeah.
But they got around it. Like, Sarah Jane Adventures was playing at that time, and I think there was a season of Torchwood that was on. They had the games that you could download that had just started on the iPad. And so there was a bunch of Doctor Who-y things going on. It just wasn't the show.
Well, that's really interesting that they did it that way. So far, this show is unlike any other. I don't know if it's just because of British. It's a British show, or because American shows, it's like, you know, September to May. There's like a break in Christmas. It's like school almost. You know, most shows, but Doctor Who's like all over the place as far as scheduling sometimes.
Well, and that's one of the things is, you know, the British don't do seasons like we do seasons. They commission series. That's why it's Series 1, Series 2, Series 3. So most British shows will be 6 to 8 episodes. That's normal. One whole series will be 6 episodes. So Doctor Who being 13, for them, is sort of like giving them a whole bunch of stuff. But for us, it's like, come on, we're used to 24, 26 episode seasons. Yeah. Give us something more.
Yeah, exactly.
And you'll notice the first half of every season is its own little bit of a story, and then the second half is its own little bit of a story, and then they tie together. Season 1, it ends with Dalek, the first half, and the Doctor gets better, and then, goes on from the rest leading up to Bad Wolf at the end. Same thing with Season 2. It leads up to the Cybermen, and then we go, Mickey's gone, new beginning, and then it goes on and gives the second half of that story. So, while there's a theme through all of them, each half of the show has that sort of feeling to it. This season, however, I feel like they really broke that. They said, let's do a full season where it's all together. Mm-hmm. So if you watch the first half, it doesn't make any sense. You have to watch the second half. There's too much they're laying down, too much going on that doesn't get resolved until the end.
Yeah. Well, before we begin the synopsis and just general discussion about the season, do we have any Doctor Who news, Matt?
Well, besides the fact that it is incredibly close to the brand new episode, Asylum of the Daleks, that's coming up here. Saturday cannot come fast enough. And I'm sure anyone who's listening to this after Saturday when it aired are probably going like, what the hell are they talking? I don't care. Come on.
Yeah,
just talk about
Well, we have to get these episodes out, so it can come a little fast enough.
Yeah, you're right. We get excited, folks, but it's late when we record these, so. Okay, basically, just a couple of things. Some people round up. David Tennant is hosting a brand new show in BBC called the Comedy World Cup. It's a 7-part series where comedians will compete against one another in a knockout competition. In addition to that, let's see, we got John Barrowman showing up at a couple of things recently. He's got... what's this? He wants to do some more stuff in America. He really likes working in American TV. He's got some British show ideas he wants to do, including a British TV series that he does called Tonight's the Night, where performers they do performances for their dreams to come true. Mm-hmm. And then he has a love of the show Dallas, and he really wishes that he could maybe be on Dallas, the new Dallas.
You know what? I don't watch Dallas, but I would watch the episodes when he was on there and check them out.
Right.
That'd be awesome.
And also there is a new comic book based action drama coming out in the States. Kicks off in autumn, and it's called Arrow. And his character is under wraps, but is described only as a well-dressed man who is mysterious as he is wealthy. I think we've mentioned this before, but that's sort of a big thing, is that he's got this show in America coming out. So he's going to be on the show.
That's great. I'm glad he's getting some more. I mean, I like when British actors who we really like, they get some fame over here,
right,
in America.
Oh yeah. One, we're really sharing stuff now between England and America. We're really kind of passing stuff back and forth. Just two more things for you. Karen Gillan announced that she will feature in the third Charlie Brooker's spoof series, A Touch of Cloth. It's a BBC thing that's coming in 2013, so if you're a Karen Gillan fan, definitely jump on board with those. And then it looks like Frigga Agerman's comments to the Sex and the City prequel, The Carrie Diaries, has led to the actress being unavailable to film in Law & Order UK for next season. So it looks like she might be in Sex and the City prequel.
Cool.
So there you go. There's some news.
All right. Thank you. Okay.
You're welcome.
Season 4. Here we go.
Okay.
Here we go. We're going to start with Christmas special, Voyage of the Damned.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, you got the Titanic, Space Titanic. It's
Poseidon Adventure in space.
Yeah, it's going to crash in its own sort of iceberg way, but it's different because it's in space. But right. And the Doctor saves the day and all that. A few funny things to note. There's the Kylie Minogue. First of all, is the companion for this.
Absolutely great.
Yeah, she was good. I mean, I haven't seen much of her act in most anything else, but she wasn't bad.
Yeah, I loved her.
Yeah, we also have the I'm gonna make sure I say this right. The Banacapalata.
Banacapalata.
Yes, I remember cracking up when I saw that the first time. Little creature, a little red thing with spikes, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And the one thing is they have these creepy angel servant things that,
with the halos, yeah.
Yeah. At first, I was like, sometimes on the show you can see something that, it's not bad, but you're just like, something's gonna go wrong. And these creepy things are gonna be bad
just
later.
Know.
Yeah, you just know.
This is Doctor Who. Come on.
This is also the first appearance of Wilf who plays a very important role.
Wilfred Mott, yes.
The rest of the season, yeah. He's Donna's grandfather, but we don't know that in this episode.
Right.
Right. He's there at the newspaper stand, and they meet him. And season 4 starts. They have a new theme song this season. I mean, it's the same song, but it's a new arrangement.
Right.
And I have to say, this one is my favorite.
Yes.
Out of all of them. It is just grand and just badass. I mean, the new one's good. And I heard they were maybe going to change it again this season.
See Saturday, yeah. Supposedly
that will be exciting. I hope it, I wonder what they're going to do with it.
You know, the thing about it, though, this season is so epic. This whole season feels like a series of movies, which is, kind of what they're looking at now.
Yeah.
Stephen Moffat's bringing in season 7. So it feels like season 4 just feels like more epic. And for that, they really jazzed up the music. And it's a small thing, but it really...
makes a huge difference.
Really makes the season, brings it together.
Yeah, this definitely is my favorite arrangement of the theme song. It's just so epic and so grand, like just the way it sounds. And then it kind of gets more. The next season, it kind of gets more sci-fi, kind of
a little different,
echoey, kind of, which is still cool. But I like this one the best. So, yeah, that's all I had for this one. Do you have anything else?
The only other thing I wanted to mention in this, 2 things. One, Doctor Who is notorious for not necessarily cheesy villains, though they are, but villains that really kind of show that they are evil. Max Capricorn with the twinkling tooth, and it really does that. Absolutely loved it. His back and forth with David Tennant with the Doctor, the Doctor figuring out his plan. He says, not a word wasted, really kind of speaks to the Doctor. The other thing that I wanted to mention was Astrid's death, and the Doctor running in there, trying to fix it, and him screaming, I can do anything, and having to let go. Up until now, the Doctor has proven he really can do anything, that there are very few times that he has his hands tied. Losing Rose to the alternate dimension was one, the Master's death is another, but this is different. This is just a normal person. There's nothing important about her other than she was there, and he can't save her. And it really starts to show the age on the Doctor. One more thing, I lie. One more thing. Mr. Copper gets all that money. What are you going to do? I'm going to build a nice little house with a garden, and then I'll make her proud, Doctor. I'll make you proud. That'll come back to us at the end of the season. So
that's great. Let's see.
So moving on to
Partners in Crime.
Partners in Crime.
What did you have for this one? Anything?
I absolutely love... Okay, so everyone should know by now, I absolutely love Donna. I think Catherine Tate is an amazing actress. She's a great comedian. I love her as the Doctor's best friend. There is no better person for the Doctor to travel with than her, simply because they even each other out.
Yeah, and it's not like there's no love interest thing going on.
There's not even a hint of it. It's just
not at all.
Friendship.
Yeah.
Absolutely love the music arrangement in this episode. Loved the pacing in this episode. Loved them infiltrating the building twice. One for her through the front and him through the back. Just very Donna.
And they see each other through the glass, and that whole exchange there was hilarious.
Best exchange in Doctor Who ever. Just totally silent. And I love the double sonic screwdrivers.
Yeah.
I love it. Do you know what happens when you put two Sonic's devices together? No, what happens? I don't know. Let's find out. Very Doctor Who. Very fun.
Yeah. This one has everyone's taking these weight loss pills or whatever, and there's the little adipose, like as the fat.
Oh,
those little
cute.
things are so cute, aren't they?
So cute.
They're so funny.
I want one.
As bad as this whole thing turned out to be, those things were super cute for that to... I mean, you couldn't be mad. You're like,
great monster.
Yeah.
Damn adorable.
This sort of has this... you sort of get this... it's sort of the theme for this season, before the specials. There's sort of this theme of... You keep hearing about these lost planets, and this is the first time we hear about...
a couple of themes.
the lost breeding plant for the adipose.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
well, you hear a couple though. You get the lost breeding planet. You obviously at the end you get Rose. You see Rose again.
And that's another one. Yeah, Rose shows up, and when I saw that at first, I was like, "What? She's trapped?
Yeah.
I don't understand."
Yeah.
Yeah, that blew my mind. And then as she walks away, she kind of disappears. And I was like, "Whoa."
Right. The other thing, though, the only other thing about they do the bees. Donna mentions the bees. That the bees were disappearing. She was investigating that, thinking that was something that would lead her to the doctor, and he just kind of blows it off. And that's something later on that comes back.
I mentioned that later. Yeah. The Fires of Pompeii is the next episode.
Good episode.
Here's another example where they lose the TARDIS again, and they can't get it. They're stuck. Here's the Pyrovites who live in the volcano. They lose their home planet.
There's where that comes in.
And there that comes in. That's their little through line. And very interesting thing in this episode, one of the soothsayers is played by Karen Gillan.
Karen Gillan. Yeah. That's where she first shows up, and actually that's why she got the chance to audition later on. They liked her from that, and
you don't really see her. She's covering her face the whole time.
Yeah, for the most part.
But it's her. If you watched it again, you'd be like, wait a minute.
Really, really good point to Doctor Who mythos. The mention of the Doctor's name. What is his name? Mm-hmm. When the soothsayers are sooth-offing, I guess, and the girl says, yes, soothing, and the girl says, your name lost in the cascading Medusa, hidden there, and that's a reference. That's definitely building to something, and we'll see that a couple times this season.
Yeah, they give us a lot of stuff about this season as far as like just hints about something, and the one says you have something on your back to Donna.
Oh, you have something on your back, yes.
Yeah, and all this.
She is returning. Yeah, a lot of good exposition there, folks.
Yeah, they give us a lot of stuff
foreshadow
to just theorize about for this season. Luckily, I didn't have to wait a week. I got to watch the whole season all the way through, but
it was torture.
Otherwise, I would have been really distracted at work. I would have been thinking, what does all this mean? The whole.
Welcome to my world.
That's right. Okay, so the next episode is Planet of the Ood.
Planet of the Ood.
The Return of the Ood.
Yeah. Gotta love an Ood.
You do. Go ahead. What did you have for this one?
They're a creepy villain. Or they're not even a villain. They're just a creepy species.
Yeah, they're really
something
ugly.
about the tentacles. Yeah. The whole story centers around a planet where, the company that's actually distributing the Ood, we finally get to find out more about that, and that there is actually a big brain Ood that has been kept oppressed and silent for a long time, and finally the Ood have found a way to free it, spreading the song of freedom, which we'll hear again several times throughout the series, including David Tennant's last episode, moments before his regeneration. So, the Ood.
One interesting thing,
Dr. Donna.
Yeah, you hear about Dr. Donna. Yeah,
the Dr. Donna. Your song is ending, sir.
That's a big thing. Yeah,
and your journey's coming to an end.
Yes, your song may soon end. And the other thing was that I thought was really interesting is we find out that the Ood, they're not holding, when they hold those little balls, it's actually their brain is in there.
Right.
And so Ood who haven't been sort of developed by this factory or whatever are holding just their brains. Their hind brain. Yeah.
Well done, guys. Good. Wow. Good sci-fi there.
That's right.
Donna is a caring and compassionate person. That was the other thing. I'm sorry. You see this in Pirates of Pompeii. Fires of Pompeii. You see this in this one. Donna comes off very brash and very abrasive. That's why a lot of people don't like her at first. She's
in the episode of season 3 in the beginning where she showed up as the wedding. She's kind of a different character a little bit.
She hasn't been changed yet. She gets changed by her time with the Doctor.
Yeah, she's really a kind of a. A lot of people thought of her as like a harping shrew, kind of, just yapping away.
Right, but she really proves herself. These first few episodes,
it's kind of a different.
She cares.
Yeah. The next episode is the Santaran Stratagem. Mm-hmm. Is we get the return of Martha Jones.
Yay! Woo!
That's right. And Unit.
Unit.
Which I don't remember Unit being in some, but this whole season you got Unit like all over the place. I forgot about it.
They were well. The Unit was in season 3. They're the ones who had the Valiant, the airship.
Yeah, and they were from the old, and they were from the old show Unit.
Yes.
Yeah. There's
the
a
Doctor
line
used
where
to work for Unit.
Somebody asks about Unit, and he says, "Oh, I worked for them in like the 60s or 70s or something."
Back in the 70s.
Yeah,
I worked for
like
them in a bit in the 70s.
I gotta say, the Santarans or the Santarans or however you say it, I like to call them the potato people.
Potato people?
Because oh my god, they look like potatoes.
They do.
Big potatoes with like
baked potatoes, yeah.
Ugly teeth, yeah. But they talk with such like,
yeah,
like, you know, such fervor. And
people at home are like, are these people going to talk on this podcast, or are they just going to make 50 comments?
I don't know what to say. They're just like such interesting villains, or you know.
This is a two-parter. Every now and then you get a two-parter from Doctor Who that just doesn't need to be a two-parter. Right. This is a perfect example of it.
Sometimes I always get frustrated when there's a two-parter. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm always like looking at like the clock, and I'm like, how are they going to wrap this up? In the next like 10 minutes, and then it's like, oh, it's a two-parter. Okay.
Yeah, we get one of those in season 6 that really bothers me. I don't know why it ended up being a two-parter. It didn't need to be a two-parter, and this is another example of it. I don't know. It felt like you could fit all that into one episode, but I guess you needed a little more time to develop some characters, like like the what's his name, the kid, the genius.
Yeah, the boy genius. Yeah. So they have all these satellite navigation, the carbon emissions are like controlled by this little thing, but then this thing turns out to gas the whole world in all these cars. And this has a really interesting one. Like they clone Martha, and she's like she got herself an evil clone. Mm-hmm. And
2 Marthas, man.
Yeah, that was weird. And then we also see Rose on the screen again.
We do.
Yeah, she's screaming at for the Doctor, kind of silently.
Yeah.
But you're like, what? That was one thing where, I was like, that's impossible. How is she? She was trapped on the other thing, and I'm like, I'm sure they'll explain it, but it was like, I couldn't think of how
do they get around this one?
Yeah, exactly. One really funny part in this one is David Tennant puts on a gas mask at one point, and he says, "Are you my mummy?" Which was great. It's such a great callback to. One thing I love about Doctor Who is they have this old show, so they have this old mythology that they can pull from. With Unit and the Master and all these things that they talk about. Sometimes they're just throwaway lines, but all the people who've seen the old show are like, oh, they're talking about that episode or whatever, like that really old one, with the 4th Doctor or whatever. Right. One thing I like about the new show is when they call back to past seasons, which we'll talk about a little more when we get to the next season, but I feel like they don't do that as much anymore.
Yeah, it really becomes its own show when Stephen Moffat takes over, and especially after the 5th season, it's really up in the air what stays in continuity and what doesn't. We'll get into that later, but
right. But
there are a lot of callbacks.
I love that he makes this "Are you my mummy?" joke, because that was an Eccleston episode.
Right.
That was an Eccleston thing. So it's like.
Did you get the other callback near the end?
No. What was that?
The Doctor. The Doctor uses the teleport to get up to the Centauran ship, and they say, "How did you get in here?" And he goes, "Intruder window," which is a callback to Dalek.
I missed that one. That was good.
So a lot of that goes on.
I love when they make callbacks to, and especially to. I mean, that's like it's to a past Doctor, but it wasn't that long ago, so it was kind of cool to see that.
Right. Yeah, it's within your time frame of having watched Doctor Who.
Yeah, exactly. Did you have anything else for this one at all?
No, I love Martha Jones. Glad she got to come back for a little bit. She'd be over on Torchwood, too, for Torchwood Season 2.
Hey, yep.
But other than that, no. I think that covers it.
Yep.
Okay. One more thing. Donna getting trapped in the TARDIS. Something I want to bring up now because this comes up again later, and then it comes up again later. Donna has this habit of getting stuck in the TARDIS and something happens.
It gets
taken by the Centaurans. We'll talk about it here in a minute, where she gets sucked up into a computer. And then, of course, at the end, she's called to stay in the TARDIS by the sound, the thump sound. Mm-hmm. So it's just really interesting that that's sort of a thing for her.
Yeah, that's kind of her. It's my thing. I get stuck in the TARDIS, It's my thing.
The Centaurans also lost a breeding planet.
Yes.
That was why they had to create a clone planet there on Earth. So, once again, lost.
The next episode is The Doctor's Daughter. This one was really interesting in the fact that they use his DNA to create a soldier, so it's technically his daughter. There was no birth or anything, but he technically has this daughter. She's like a full-grown woman already. And she was kind of fun.
Yeah. Jenny? I love Jenny.
Jenny, she was great. One thing I totally called from the beginning, I was like, is he going to be like, you're not my daughter, and then push her away, and then finally by the end he's like, all right, I accept you, but then she dies. I was like, I knew this was going to happen. Yeah, I called it.
It plays it page for page. It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
They're basically they land, the TARDIS kidnaps Donna and the Doctor and Martha. They end up on this planet where there's these two species fighting, humans and the Peth. And
I like the Peth.
Yeah, I do too. They're fish people. They don't even talk.
No, they just bubble.
Right. But you've got these clones being made, and they talk about in generations. But we find out by the end that it was actually just 7 days. That for a clone, an entire generation, is they get cloned, they went into battle, and they died 20 minutes later. So the next batch of clones would have been a new generation. So it's really cool to see that the Doctor puts an end to it. He brings peace. Makes a very impassionate speech about why he doesn't carry a gun. And
then at the end, he grabs a gun and points it at the guy, which was weird to see. It's weird to see the Doctor hold a gun, and we'll see it again, but it's still weird.
Well, and it's that he never does it. He's such a pacifist, and that's great.
Yeah.
That's his character is so good for kids and for adults. It's such a good idea.
Yeah.
That there's a guy that just tries to see the universe. He doesn't actually try to bring harm, and when there is something there, he fights it, but he doesn't try to kill it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think it's cool because this show it's so full of action. Mm-hmm. And most things you watch with action, there's a lot of gun shots and gun fighting. And in this show, the bad guys shoot and stuff, but you never see, and there's always parts where there's standoffs, but he's never holding a gun. It's like maybe he's like pointing his sonic screwdriver at a robot or at something,
right.
That he could.
His magic wand.
Yes, exactly. It's the wizarding world of
Doctor
Who.
He should go to Hogwarts.
Oh my gosh, he should. He could travel. Anyway. Man,
Time
a
for
crossover. There you go. That's what we need. We need a Doctor Who Harry Potter crossover.
If we have any fans out there listening who like to write, for the love of God, write that fan fiction.
That would be so cool. So anyway, he's holding a gun. It's just so... I don't know. It makes it seem so much crazier and more just... I don't want to say more awesome because you don't want him to be holding a gun. That's not his character, but
it's more epic.
Yeah, just see him whip around and we'll get to it in the finale, but
yeah, two times cool, he does, and it's a good point too because every time he does have a gun, he doesn't use it. That's the thing I love about him.
Right.
One more thing, and then we can move on if you'd like, unless you've got something else.
Well, the only thing I had was. This was okay, we're on season 7, so this was 2 seasons ago. We have yet to see this Jenny again. She comes back to life, and she flies off. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh great! A character that could come back later, and that could be really fun and interesting.
And it's
and it
possible
just
we
hasn't.
never will.
And I really hope that someday they do this, or, you know, at least one episode or something would be awesome, I think.
Now, the other thing I had was the actress who plays Jenny, Georgia Moffat. Here's the thing. So there's a story. So by this time, David Tennant had broken up with his girlfriend, who we had previously said in season 2 was Madame de Pompadour. Mm-hmm. So you get this girl, Georgia, and she was hired for this part. Originally, she tried out for a part that was just like a one-off. It was different. It was just a different one-off. And they're like, no, you can't do that. We know who you are. So they gave her this part. Her father is Peter Davidson. Peter Davidson was the 5th Doctor. So this is actually the Doctor's daughter playing the Doctor's daughter. Mm-hmm. But it goes beyond there. Because her and David Tennant start flirting. They start getting together. And suddenly, she's dating David Tennant, which means the Doctor's daughter is dating the Doctor. Well, just recently we found out that they had gotten married, and she had a little kid. So now, the Doctor's daughter, who married the Doctor and had the Doctor's kid, you can imagine Christmas where they all get together, and they're eating Christmas dinner, and then they go to sit down to watch Doctor Who. The Doctor, the Doctor's daughter, and the future Doctor. Mm-hmm. And it's just them watching Doctor Who. Just in my mind, that is the greatest thing that has ever happened in the history of mankind, right there.
That just came together so nicely, didn't it?
It did.
I don't think I had anything else for this one.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Jenny again. I think she should come back. I think it'd be really good, but...
Oh, the music score, the sound they play when Martha's on the planet, when she's outside.
Yeah. That
is very old school Doctor Who sound.
Oh, yeah?
If you go back and watch some of the old school Doctor Who and just listen to the transitional music between scenes, dear God, I mean, Murray Gold must have been listening to that going, I want to put this in an episode. It was very old school Who.
That's cool. The next one is The Unicorn and the Wasp.
Mm-hmm. Fun historical piece.
Yes. We have Agatha Christie in this one, who's sort of the famous person who they visit. And there's a giant wasp.
It's a murder mystery. Yeah. It plays itself out like an Agatha Christie book,
which is kind of cool. I like that. I like where he's like sort of Sherlock Holmes at some point, listing off like, I know what happened.
Well, I love that this episode is just like the Shakespeare episode. It's just like the Charles Dickens episode. It's fun. It's historical and it's fun. You don't take it seriously. You know, he's solving an Agatha Christie mystery with Agatha Christie.
And just like the Shakespeare one, this is where you find out, like, oh, guess what? I'm part of her history. You know, this is why she had amnesia, and this is why she ended up here. You know, I thought that was kind of cool that they did that.
Quick note on this episode. Not my favorite of the season. It is fun.
Yeah, it was okay.
Not my favorite of Donna's either, because she very old school Donna, and not how she changes over the course of the series.
It reminded me of Rose when she was back in season 2. She's trying to get Queen Victoria to say, "I'm not amused."
Oh, I'm not amused.
Or whatever. Yeah. It kind of reminded me of that because she was like obsessed that it was Agatha Christie. You know.
There's something else about this episode.
There's a really hilarious scene in here where the Doctor gets poisoned.
Yeah.
And he has to detoxify himself. And then he needs a shock, and then Donna kisses him, and oh man, that was so funny. And just all the stuff he's like putting in him. And
very slapstick.
Yeah,
it was perfect.
One interesting sort of callback to this one is there's a part where he's going through a trunk in the TARDIS, and he pulls out the Carrionites from Shakespeare, and he sort of shakes them like a magic 8-ball. Shakes them up.
I remember he mentions wanting to meet Agatha Christie.
Oh,
in the show. Mm-hmm. He mentions it in season 2 when he in the finale. He's telling Rose, you know, Agatha. Oh no, it's Martha. I'm sorry. He's telling it to Martha. Yeah, Agatha Christie. We should meet Agatha Christie. And that's when Martha decides to leave. And it's kind of neat that's a playback. He does that, he'll say, we should say Allons Z more often, Rose. Allons Z. And we didn't do that one with the Titanic. We'll get there again. And he does. He says, we really wish we could meet someone named Alonzo. And then we say, Allons Z, Alonzo. He does in the Titanic episode. God, great throwbacks in this season. Yeah, then the Agatha Christie. We should meet Agatha Christie. I bet she's brilliant. And then when he's talking to her in the episode, and he says, you're great, you fool me every time. Well, some of the time. Well, once. And you're just like, that's the Doctor. What are you doing?
David Tennant has these, he has certain things he does, which I picked up on as an actor. I've kind of picked up on some of his little things he does. He does what I like to call the David Tennant breath, or the David Tennant... Yeah. Where he'll say, he'll be like, yeah, it's over there, and that's how it works over there. He just where he breathes in really loud.
He does,
and then this really mumbly part at the end.
Yes, and sometimes it's hard to understand.
Yeah, and then he does the thing he just did where he's like, well, this and that.
Wow.
He's such he does so many great little things that I just love about his interpretation of the Doctor and how just silly he is.
Well, and it's little things like that. Eccleston did the same thing. Eccleston would have the smile that he was putting on that was a fake smile.
Uh-huh.
He'd put it on and then immediately he'd be frowning again because he was not. It was just a smile to give someone.
Or he'd be like, hello. And there's a part where at the end where they're like, we're looking for the Doctor, and he's like, hello, right here. How are you?
Hello.
But it's this serious moment. The Daleks are there, and he's like,
yeah.
But he's like, hello.
Oh, hello.
Okay.
Fun.
We're really booking it through here because we got to get to this one, Silence in the Library.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Such a great. It's a two-parter, so I like to think of two-parters as one big episode. Such a great episode.
The best.
Just. Not only in just the story and just the excitement and the scariness of it all,
right?
But just in the epicness, and then they start this huge storyline for the next Doctor, which is just great that they did that. I thought that was amazing.
This is the end of River Song.
Yeah, so that's River Song. We'll get to it. We will definitely get to it next season. But this River Song character that he meets turns out to be super important, and I guess she's known him her whole life, but he looks different to her, and then she comes to find out that he's never met her before, and she's got this book. It's got all these stories in it, which I have the notebook that I used for this podcast.
Show him.
Matt got me a fun little notebook here.
Show them that I can see you on the video here. Yes, if they're not going to see, In the
podcast world, you have to see
guys,
the episode.
He's got the book. It's blue and it's square.
But it looks like the TARDIS. It's pretty awesome.
River Song, great character, definitely one of my favorites. Here's the thing. Written by Stephen Moffat, he's laying a lot of seeds. First things first, that these two might be married. There's the possibility of a romantic interest.
There's the one guy says, you're arguing like an old married couple. I thought that was pretty funny.
But I loved the whole, I'm so sorry, but I have to say something and you'll trust me completely after this, I'm so sorry. And then she whispers in his ear, and his face. David Tennant, because only he can pull off that face, but that face. And then we find out later, you said my name. You whispered my name to me.
Which was so cool. Let me just say this to people who haven't seen the show yet, and they're kind of watching it with us, or anybody who just hasn't seen the show and they're going to watch it. After you finish season 6, go back and watch this episode again, because it's just... I'm sure we'll see River Song next season, this 7th season coming up. But I feel last season, it was all about her. So we were kind of maybe getting to the end of her little storyline or whatever.
I don't think so.
But I just feel like this was so cool to see after seeing all of that again.
Right. Everybody keep in mind this quote that he gives, the Doctor gives. He says, "You know my name. There's only one time I could ever tell anyone, or there's only one time I could tell someone my name. Only one reason why."
That was cool.
and she won't let him finish that sentence. He knows that there's a day that his name will be spoken. Mm-hmm. We'll get really into this in season 6, especially at the final episode, but that's coming up. And I really honestly believe, though we don't know it, but I believe that the end of Matt Smith's era will be that moment with River Song. I really honestly see that. And that's a very powerful thing to think, let alone to feel's coming. So, very good two-parter. Once again, Stephen Moffat ends the episode, nobody died.
Yeah. Well,
he did that with the...
they did but...
No, they didn't die. They're alive.
Get to live for their consciousness or whatever lives forever in the computer.
Happy ending. He does the same thing with the Are You My Mummy? Mm-hmm. Same thing. And he does the same thing in Blink.
Yeah.
Stephen Moffat doesn't like killing people. He likes teasing you with it, but he won't kill people.
No, he sure doesn't.
Except Rory.
Some cool things about these episodes. The library was in the girl's head, which that was kind of a cool little thing. Like, that was just kind of the side. I was more interested in the whole River Song thing. I mean, the rest of the thing was pretty cool. He gets a psychic paper message from River with like a kiss on it, and Donna was like, "I was sealed with a kiss," you know. Which is funny now that we know who River is. Like, it's funny when I saw that. Like, oh, that's funny. She sent him a psychic paper message.
Does it say "Hello, sweetie" on the message?
I don't remember if it does or not, but I know the first word she says when she comes in, she takes off her helmet, she says, "Hello, sweetie."
Oh, yeah, there you go. That's where it is. Okay, because it just says "come to the library" with a little X.
Yeah, which is sort of her... that's her catchphrase, really. Which you'll hear a lot more.
Well, and spoilers.
And spoilers, yeah. Which... you know what? I love that when she looks in his eyes and she says... You know, you look so young to me, which is just so weird that you know, because we know he's like really old,
right?
And especially this is like, it's weird too because this is an older David Tennant than like 2 seasons ago. We've seen him kind of get a little older in the role.
So to see him this old, and
to see him so old, and then she says, "Oh, you look so young."
When he responds, "I'm really not."
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird to think that, she's known the Doctor, so maybe she's thinking, oh, this person I'm meeting, he's an older version, and then she comes to find out, oh, it's a younger version, and he's never met me before.
Well, she says she's got pictures of him in there, that she's seen all his faces. She says that. She knows each version of the Doctor, so, she definitely knows Matt Smith. She might know the version after Smith, but I guess she just had never met anyone before Smith. Mm-hmm. She's seen Smith young. She saw him at the very beginning, which we'll get to next season. It's again next season. But
it's so good.
To see David Tennant, she's like, "Oh, it's Tennant. It's the 10th. It's the 10th. Wait a minute, this is the 10th. I've never seen him as the 10th."
Yeah.
The sudden realization.
We'll quote real quick the Vashta Narada creepy thing. It's just
good villains.
Yeah, good. It's just a swarm in the shadows. I mean,
swarm in the shadows.
They throw
not every shadow, but any shadow.
Any shadow. They throw the chicken bone in there, and it just turns into a bone. Or they shoot the chicken leg, and it turns into a bone.
Count the shadows.
Yes. The other interesting thing about River is she has a sonic screwdriver.
A future version of Tennant's screwdriver, yes.
Which I find really interesting. And I know I don't want to talk too much about the next season because we don't want to spoil anything. But Matt Smith's Doctor has
you want to wait and save this for next season?
Well, I was just going to say, his screwdriver looks different than David Tennant's. And it's a different color. So it was really interesting to me to see hers was blue and looked more like David Tennant's. So I wonder if they will ever, when they get to that point, like, will he have? Will they change his screwdriver now, and he'll have a new one, or what?
Well, I think I really think he bequeaths her one.
That would make the most sense.
Her line is, "The last time I saw you, you showed up with a new haircut and a suit. You took me to the singing towers.
Yeah.
They sang and you cried. You even gave me your screwdriver. That should have been a clue." So him coming to her and having this, more than likely is he knows it's her time to come to the library, and he knows she won't take his screwdriver, so he gives her a gift. He says, here's one of my old ones. This is for you. Probably an anniversary gift of some sort, and that's how she gets it.
Yeah. And the other thing she says is, she's talking to the other woman, and she says something about, armies run from him. And
turn and walk away. Turn and run away.
That was really cool. I like this now. We're getting to this. We're talking about River a little bit, which is fun because we're actually now we're getting to the theorizing part that we'll really be doing once we get to the episodes in season 7. I love it.
This is I'm sorry. This is also the first reference to snapping his fingers and opening the TARDIS.
Oh, which was so cool.
Yeah,
he didn't know he could do that, and then he snaps his fingers and they open up, and the little smirk on his face is great.
Such a wonderful moment.
Yeah. One interesting thing about this episode is Donna gets sucked into she gets saved by the computer or whatever, and she's in the computer program. And she's sort of flying through life. Whenever she thinks about something, that's how we see on a TV show, it cuts to that scene, but for her, it's it actually cuts like that. Yeah. And then she, it was really sad when she, lost her fake kids or whatever.
She was.
Yeah, that was really... I forgot about that part. It was really sad.
Dr. Moon.
Dr. Moon and all that. Yeah, that was kind of a cool... That was kind of an interesting thing. And then the guy she meets, and then he stutters, but then he sees her in the end, but he's trying to say her name and he can't, and he gets teleported away.
It's sad.
Yeah, that was really sad, too. The last
very
thing I'll say...
moment. Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, very rare moment, too, with the Doctor talking to Donna near the end. And the Doctor usually is good at composing himself, and too much has happened, he's too upset, and, she says, what does that say about me? And he says, everything. And then he says, oh, I'm sorry, did I say everything? I meant to say nothing. Mm-hmm. Just goes to show you, when the Doctor loses that much, he can't stop himself. He's just honest, brutally honest. Yeah. And that's a harken back to Eccleston's Doctor there, how brutally honest was Eccleston? Everything dies. Everything has its time.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that was just a connection.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I have a couple more things about this one. The Doctor, I love the fake out where you thought it was you hear River narrating, and it's a close up on the book, and you think it's the end of the episode, and then he runs back in, and he's like, wait a minute, why would she give me the screwdriver? And he goes through this whole thing, and then when he runs and he doesn't take the gravity thing, he jumps in it, and he looks like he's flying. That was so badass when he's flying, holding the screwdriver, and his coat's flapping in the breeze in the back. It was so cool. That was an awesome shot.
It's very cool.
It was very, very cool. This is the end of River Song. So this is the last time, and broken record. We'll get to it next season, but they sort of meet out of sync.
They always meet out of sync.
They never meet in the right order. It's almost kind of opposite for them, but it kind of gets a little jumbled later. But so this is the first time he's met her, and the last time she gets to see him, because she dies at the end of this. So that's kind of an interesting juxtaposition there. I thought that was really cool. Mm-hmm. And then just a great setup for what's to come.
Yeah.
Okay, the next episode is Midnight.
Creepy episode.
Oh my god.
This is still unanswered, what that was. And there were talks about that returning in Smith's era, and we just have not seen it. But it's the story of the Doctor taking a vacation. Without Donna's staying somewhere relaxing, and he's on this planet called Midnight that's made entirely of diamonds, and he goes on this tour, and the bus they're on gets trapped. Basically, it's the first time the bus he's on gets trapped, and then there's something outside that's banging on the door trying to get in, and it eventually does inside of this person who's on the bus, and it begins mimicking people's speech, matching people's speech, and then eventually conquers their speech by speaking for them. And the people on the bus would have thrown the Doctor out, but a woman figures it out, and the attendant or whatever and throws herself out of the bus alongside the woman who had this thing in her, which frees them all. Never learn what it is. Never learn why it was doing what it was doing. This woman screamed, "It's coming for me, it's coming for me." Never learn the backstory of that. Just a very creepy episode.
Yeah, really cool though. I liked it, and I thought it was cool. It was all shot on the bus. It was kind of it could have been a play, you know.
Bottle episode.
Yeah, a bottle episode definitely. Yeah, I love bottle episodes because they could be plays. You know, I would always love to if I love to do it on stage or something. I think that would be great. There's another episode we hear about the lost moon of Poosh, which is a funny name. Which is a funny name for a planet. Poosh. But that's another lost planet that we hear about. And then we see Rose again in this one. She's on the screen again for a brief moment, yelling for the doctor. And again, I'm like, what the hell's going on? Why?
And they're building to it, man. It all starts next episode.
Yeah. Anything else for this one that you had?
Molto bene.
Is this the first time he says that, or?
No, they've been saying it all season, but I just love that he says it, and then she says it, and he says, "Don't, just don't."
yeah. First he repeats it. Yeah. He's like, I'm done with people repeating after me.
And then they will repeat. They will mention this episode again when we get to Stolen Earth. Wilf says the last time she called was from a planet called Midnight, made of diamonds. So this is what they're referring to.
The next episode is Turn Left. This was a cool episode. It was kind of like a big what if episode, which
great what if episode.
I kind of like that. Yeah, like where they, they kind of have those on sitcoms, and it's kind of for amusement. Like there was a big Friends what if episode a long time ago, where it's like, what if this, Joey had stayed on Dave's Our Lives and this and that,
right?
And it was just for it was just the whole. It's just really silly. This one's a little more serious. Donna gets tricked by the tricksters something.
Tricksters Brigade.
Yeah, that's it. And they basically trick her into, I guess, creating another timeline, creating another universe or something.
There's something on her back, yeah.
Right, where she doesn't turn right, or she turns right at this intersection instead of turning left, which that event would have made her meet the doctor. And Donna is so important that this, in meeting the doctor, that this changes so many things. The doctor ends up dying by the Empress of the Rachnos.
From the Christmas special, season 3.
Which I kind of find a little hard to believe that he would die, but I guess, okay.
If you actually watch it, though, that moment, he stays there because he wants to see the Rachnos die.
Yeah.
And because he stays there, he ends up drowning. And, the doctor probably would have had enough sense to run away, but I like to think that in that moment, he had just lost Rose.
Yeah.
He was feeling the same way he felt when he just lost his people. But remember, he stood there and watched Cassandra die.
Yeah.
He stood there. He was going to watch the Rachnos and her children die. Because that was... His people got rid of her people long ago. And he had to take care of that. So it's possible he would have stayed there just out of pride. And he could have died.
And then... I liked a lot of the callbacks to all these past episodes. Martha and I guess Sarah Jane die on the moon with the Jadoon in the hospital.
Yeah.
Which was kind of cool that they had, Sarah Jane, the doctor doesn't show up, so Sarah Jane shows up.
Right, and she would have.
The Titanic ends up crashing into the space Titanic ends up crashing into the...
And does not do as much damage as was promised in the Titanic episode.
Yeah, which was a little overshot there with her. Or they were like, well, we can't have that happen.
Well, and it's possible, of course, that everybody was sort of hyped up a little bit on adrenaline when they were doing the Poseidon adventure in space, and someone just said, that thing crashes, it will blow up the planet, and it's just like, no, it's going to cause some devastation. It's just a nuclear bomb.
Yeah. And the adipose plan works, and the Torchwood teams, they stop the Suntarans. Whatever. They saunter on. Anyway.
Love that.
And they end up dying, the whole team there, which is cool. And then I love when the ship blows up, and then Donna and Rose, who ends up sort of meeting Donna in this parallel world that they made, or that Donna made by not turning left. They're looking up at the ship and it explodes, and then Donna says, who is that? What happened there? Or whatever. And Rose says, oh, that was Torchwood. And then you hear that, like, which is the Torchwood theme. I always love when you hear the little Torchwood theme on Doctor Who. It's kind of funny.
Something interesting to note about that moment right there, Rose says that right now a man by the name of Captain Jack is on his way back to the Sontaran's home planet to basically to be punished for this. She mentions that Jack gives up his life, that the Torchwood team's dead, and Jack's going back to sacrifice himself to keep these aliens away from Earth. That's a very Doctor thing to do, and that Jack would do that because the Doctor wasn't there.
Yeah.
Continue.
At the end of this one, Donna has to kill herself, like she'll run in front of the car.
Oh, yeah.
And then
she has to go back in time.
Yeah. And then Rose tells her bad wolf to tell the Doctor.
That conversation with the Doctor when she gets back and she can't remember everything, and she keeps trying to tell him there's something about it, and he's just, he's, well, it doesn't matter anymore. And she says, well, there was this woman, and she just, she had a message for you.
She was blonde, and he was like, what?
Yeah, he says, well, what did she look like? Well, she was blonde, and he goes, but the Doctor figures it out, and I really put this as credit to. He knows stuff's happening. He's been figuring it out all season. All these planets are lost. He keeps hearing this, and he keeps all these weird things have been happening to him. And then this blonde woman is helping me, and what did she say? And the bad wolf.
Yeah, and then he goes, "It's the end of the universe," which I was like, "What?" But then it makes sense. The next one, he kind of explains what he meant when he said that.
He runs into the TARDIS. The TARDIS, by the way, translates for them. Remember, every time they see alien language, the TARDIS is translating. The TARDIS translates everything they see into Bad Wolf because the TARDIS is calling the Doctor to come back. When the Doctor gets there, that red light and that sound that's going off, that's called the cloister bell, or the cloister alarm.
Yeah, I read a little bit about that. I had to see what, because I saw it was on the synopsis I was reading, and I was like, oh, the cloister, okay.
It only sounds in the event of imminent universal destruction.
How could that's
It's
good.
been used several times in the old show.
That's a good thing to have.
Yeah, I thought so.
I'd like to know when that might be going on. Okay, the next episode here we're going to talk. It's the finale, the sort of the official finale for season 4, and then the specials are sort of just for, I think, for convenience sake. They're kind of grouped in with season 4.
Yeah, but they should have been in a season. That should have been season 5. Yeah. And actually, if you watch the specials and then you think about it, if you had 13 full episodes, there was so much more they could have done with that storyline. Mm-hmm. So that's why they tack it on the end of season 4 now. It's the last 5 episodes of season 4. Okay, but it could have been its own season.
Yeah. On the Stolen Earth, basically the Earth gets stolen. And they go to the Doctor and Donna go to the Shadow Proclamation, which I like to call the Rhinos and the Albinos.
Haven't heard that yet. That's good.
We get some more Jadoon speak, which I love Jadoon speak. And there's the part where he just goes, "Mo-ho!"
Mo-ho.
Which he just goes, "Mo-ho." It's like a sort of a, so there.
Yeah. Well, the Doctor speaks Jadoon, and that's great. It's the Jadoon, Vro no, show no, bo no, and then the Doctor responding, Vro no, ko no, show no, mapafafa nabadaba joe. And then just, Maho. Like, suck it.
This episode's really interesting because, everybody's here. Everybody, all of the companions, which is really fun that they did this. You got Mickey, you got Jackie, Rose is back, and Billie Piper had some work done. You can tell.
Yeah, only a little.
Only a little bit, yeah.
No, she had work.
Yeah, she had a lot of work done. Let's see. Sarah Jane and her son and Mr. Smith, their computer. This is from the Sarah Jane Adventures. Will you talk a little bit about this, because I've never seen this?
So long ago, when Sarah Jane was first on Doctor Who, when they left her, she was left by the Doctor so the Doctor could return home. They had always planned to do a Sarah Jane Adventures. They had always planned to do this spin-off show with her and K9 solving crimes. And they made a pilot episode, it just never took off the ground. So when they brought her back this time, they thought, hey, we've got the money, we've got the power, let's make a show for maybe a younger audience, more for kids, half-an-hour episodes called the Sarah Jane Adventures. In many ways, it is very Power Rangers. In many ways, it's very Saturday morning. She has this son who he's like a biological clone. He's been developed. He's not real. And he's got his own feelings and thoughts. And then they've got these two friends from down the street, this guy and this girl, these kids, who, hang out with them. And they all go out and solve mysteries, and they run away from aliens. And
they have
this
K9,
has been the show
right?
for Sarah. And then the K9's there every now and then.
Yeah.
So this is very much so. This is the Sarah Jane Adventures. This is the third show, Doctor Who, Torchwood, Sarah Jane Adventures. It was a hit. I think they were on season 5 when they had to end it, and that was only because Elizabeth Sladen passed away. It's very sad. I'm still very upset about it. But yeah, so they had this show, and it just went over really well. And we'll talk about it again here in a minute, but they do a crossover with Doctor Who during the specials. She has this own show. And so to bring these 3 shows together at the end, you've got Torchwood, you've got Martha Jones with Unit, you've got Sarah Jane Adventures. Yeah, it was great. It was great.
Yeah, Martha's there, and you have Captain Jack, and you also have Gwen and Yanto from Torchwood, which the only thing I was thinking was, if you've never seen any of these other shows, this was really weird. It was weird to see the Sarah Jane stuff, because I'd never seen any of that. But I'd seen the Torchwood stuff, so I kind of knew what was going on, but I was like, if no one's ever seen Torchwood, these 2 characters just seem really strange, and they make little jokes that you wouldn't really get. And they talk about people you don't know.
Right. Well, yeah, but they were working with Captain Jack, and Captain Jack, and you knew Captain Jack was working with Torchwood, because the last time we saw him in Doctor Who, he said, I have a team, I have Torchwood, I work out of Cardiff. So you can kind of, if you had never seen Torchwood, you could really put together, this must be his team from this other show. They do make a lot of references that you wouldn't get unless you had seen that show. There are people who have died, and you need to know that. But I feel like, even with Sarah Jane, it's just that she's there, she's got the son, she has a computer. Okay, sure.
Who, plays a fanfare as he turns around.
Yeah.
That was great. I love that.
Sure. You could figure it out.
Yeah.
It makes sense in Doctor Who's world.
So, the bad guys in this season, it's the Daleks again, who, they came back, you had the... You have the Supreme Dalek, which is like an Iron Man color Dalek. He's got gold and red, and he looks pretty cool and different from all the others. And you have Dalek Khan, who has gone crazy.
Yeah,
he went through into the Time War to pull out this other guy, Davros, who I know is from the old show.
Yeah,
and
talk about a homicidal maniac.
Yeah, for sure. And the Doctor says something. Someone tried to move the Earth before. Was this a reference to an old episode with Davros?
Yes.
Trying to move the Earth. That's what I figured.
Here's the thing. Davros was such a great idea. Tom Baker at one point in time was traveling. The Time Lords had stolen him from his TARDIS. Him, Sarah Jane, and a guy that traveled with him named Harry Sullivan. And the Time Lords plucked him out of the TARDIS and moved him through time and space and put him down on the home planet of the Daleks, which the original Doctor had actually visited in the 2nd episode of the show, called Skaro, before the Daleks were created, when it was going to happen, during the war between the Khalids. And it's interesting because they sent him back there. They want him to assassinate the Daleks. The Time Lords want the Doctor to commit genocide and stop the Daleks from happening. And the Doctor ends up not being able to do it. But we meet Davros, who's the creator of the Daleks, who's a scientist, mad scientist, who feels that his people could be better warriors if they were put inside these war machines, which he thought he could control, but he couldn't. The Daleks, which, by the way, is backwards for Khalids, the Daleks just take over. And
what's Khalid?
that's that. The Khalids, that was the species on Skaro. One of the two species that was fighting were the Khalids. And Davros, who was a Khalid, basically manipulating and modifying their DNA and making the Daleks.
Oh, cool.
Is where that comes from.
Yeah.
So, Davros is a scary guy.
Yeah, he was pretty. He didn't have any eyes, and he
has
the
one
Dalek
eye.
voice, like the little like
Does.
kind of
And he has
bubbly
the
in there,
hand.
little vibrato, whatever. A couple
And
of
then,
things
of
about
course,
this episode.
yeah. Okay.
Harriet Jones comes back, and she
Yay!
dies, which is sad. You know.
Yeah.
There's a
Mr.
couple.
Copper Foundation.
What?
The Mr. Copper Foundation. That's where that comes back in.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. She said, yeah, he financed this whole project or whatever. A couple funny things about this episode. I like Rose all jealous of Martha, like oh, she's good or whatever.
I was there first.
And then Donna is like all flirty with Jack, which is hilarious. And then I noticed this time, but it happens a lot, like in the past couple seasons. The TARDIS will it's another funny thing the TARDIS can do. The TARDIS will be sort of malfunctioning and crashing. It's like sparking. And then it'll just be on fire. But it's okay. You know, the fires just put themselves out.
They do. They really
You never
do.
see the Doctor with a fire extinguisher spraying them out. They just
You should.
oh, those are the things that make fire when the thing's crashing. But they're okay. And the end of this, and you mentioned this at the beginning of the podcast, the end of this one, he finally gets and meets Rose again. But before he does, he gets shot by a Dalek, and he starts to regenerate.
Let me tell you something. Watching this week to week, and when that happened, no freaking clue that was going to happen. And as soon as I saw the Dalek when they were running to each other, I thought, "Oh God, Rose is about to get shot."
Yeah,
that's all I could think.
That's what I was thinking too.
And then it shoots the Doctor, and you go, "That's not possible." I refuse to believe that the show was happening after that.
Yeah.
And then when you get him into the TARDIS, and he's having trouble, and Jack says, "Rose, you know what happens next?" And I thought, no, there's no way. They're not going to get rid of him now. They can't. And then I'm regenerating, and oh my God, I almost threw my laptop, which I was watching it on. I almost threw that across the room.
Yeah,
I was so mad. I had to wait.
So yeah, but it's okay because he shoots all the energy into the hand. But we still got the little hand in the bubbling jar,
which turns into another Doctor.
Yeah, Doctor 2.
Thanks to the Donna.
I like to call him Doctor 2.
Doctor 2.
That's my little, a couple things about the end of this. Martha is sort of on this mission from UNIT, which I thought was interesting. There's a Torchwood show, there's a Sarah Jane show. There's no UNIT show. I think that
should be.
There should be. She has to go to Germany for this Osterhagen key thing, and you have Daleks yelling in German, which is probably the most terrifying thing I can think of. I mean, just German Daleks. I mean, they're already Nazis in tin cans, but just to hear them yelling in German. Yes, exterminating.
But it is terrifying. I mean, of course they would yell in German in Germany because otherwise the Germans wouldn't understand them.
That's right.
And it's just creepy as hell.
Yeah. There's this part where Sarah Jane and Mickey and Jackie are on the ship, and they go through this door, and Sarah Jane has does she have a sonic screwdriver or something? She had a little something.
Sonic lipstick.
Sonic lipstick. No way.
Yep.
That's great.
You need to watch it.
I really do, especially if K9's on there. I love K9. So anyway, this one is okay. The first season, they were the Daleks were going to destroy you, the Doctor. And then the next season, it was the Cybermen and Daleks, we came back, we're going to destroy the Earth. And then season 3, it's I forgot.
The Daleks are almost all but destroyed, but one gets away, and then you got to deal with another Time Lord, which is like the worst possible scenario
the Master. That's
ever.
right, the Master. And he's all this stuff, and then this season, it's the end of reality itself.
Yeah.
You know?
So let's put it in perspective. The first season ends with the end of Earth in 200,100. Mm-hmm. Okay? So it's the Doctor saving the Earth of the future. The second season, it's the Doctor saving the Earth of today from 2 invading armies. Mm-hmm. The third season, it's the Doctor has to save the Earth and stop a genocidal maniac from destroying all of the universe.
Right.
The fourth season, it's the end of reality itself. If you think it's possible that they could not go any further than that, you're wrong.
They're wrong.
Because we're going to get to it here in a minute.
And then they do again.
The end of time itself, and then they managed to top that.
Yes. I couldn't believe that they do it. They had the Daleks have this. They sort of at the stalemate at one point because Martha's got this Osterhagen key where it's gonna all these missiles will destroy the Earth, and then Sarah Jane's got this warp star, so they sort of at this thing, and that doesn't go over very well because then they just get transported. But the one thing I can think of is like the Daleks. Their main goal in life is to make everybody Dalek so that everybody will be a Dalek. Then all I can think is like, what would they do if they won? It'd just be like Dalek City. All the Daleks like, oh, hello, how are you? I'm good. You know, like...
Best story ever is about a Dalek who has to get up in the morning and go to work. He puts on a hat and he has a briefcase and a tie and he goes to an accounting job and, he's got to get coffee.
Yeah.
And he has to talk by the water cooler. Then when he gets home, he finds his best friend Dalek sleeping with his wife Dalek. And he's like... He goes, oh no, what are you doing, Louise? And she says, I'm having relations with my lover. And the lover goes, oh my God, Bob, I'm sorry, I didn't think you were coming home.
Dalek Bob.
And it's just, yeah, Dalek Bob and Dalek Hank and Louise. It's just very, it's very like... That's awesome.
Yeah.
But that's what they want. They want just them to exist. That's all that matters.
I just think it's so funny just to think of the Dalek. Like, what would they... Like, their whole purpose, every time you see them, is they're like, we have to make everyone Dalek and destroy the Doctor. And
No. They have to exterminate anything that isn't Dalek.
That's right. I mean, what would they...
Cybermen try to convert you.
Oh, that's right. True.
Well, okay, just sometimes they have to take people and turn them into Daleks.
Yeah. Because we get the Dr. Donna in here. She gets sort of Time Lord brain inside of her, and she makes all the Daleks like spin around. And one of the funniest things of hers is the Daleks screaming. They're like, "Oh, wow, 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 wow," as they're like just spinning around and going away. It's so funny. But anyway, this Doctor 2, he ends up killing all the Daleks because he's sort of like before he met Rose is like kind of the way this Doctor thinks.
Born out of battle.
The way they explain it. So he ends up killing all the Daleks, right? We're not going to see any more Daleks ever.
Well,
yeah, we'll get there. The last thing I had.
One more. I have to throw this in there. Okay. To know the heart of him when they finally reveal all the people that have died in the Doctor's name.
Yeah.
One of the saddest moments in Doctor Who is the Doctor having these flashbacks of all the people in the show so far, most of them at least, who have died specifically trying to help the Doctor. And it's fine. I'm okay with most of it. You see the tree girl from the beginning. You see, some of the people from second season. You see Elton's friends, the Linda group that died. You see, it leads up to. You see, you get all the way to Astrid, and then you get the genius boy who hits the button and blows himself up along with the Centaurans, and then you get Jenny, and you hear the gunshot. Mm-hmm. Like, you have music cue, gunshot. I lost it. That's when I started to cry. Like, I couldn't take it anymore. That was too much for the Doctor to bear. And, like, I could feel it, Mm-hmm. Great Davros maneuver. Really evil genius kind of crap. And just sad for the Doctor.
Mm-hmm. I have a really quick question. At the ship's blowing up, and he's like, Davros, come with me, I can help. Why would he want to help Davros? I mean, I know he's compassionate and everything, but, like...
Davros is just...
Is there kind of a backstory
He's crazy,
here?
But he's deluded. No, I don't know. The Doctor doesn't want people to die. He didn't want the Daleks to be destroyed. He wanted to find a way to end this without having to destroy them. That's why when the Doctor 2 blows them all up, the Doctor says it's genocide. Mm-hmm. He wanted to save Davros because Davros really, truly is a genius. And it was possible if he saved... Same thing with, like, keeping the Master with him in the TARDIS. If he saves Davros, maybe he can convince Davros, or he can change Davros and make him into... something that would help the world, help the universe. I think a part of it was just, the Doctor was like, come on, you're the last one, let's do this, let's go, please. He just didn't want any more death, and, he couldn't stop it. But more important than that was Davros' last words to the Doctor. I name you the Destroyer of Worlds. Mm-hmm. And it bears out. That happens. He is.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in season 5 and 6, but the Doctor's a dangerous man.
Sure. Yeah. I guess the last things on here that I just had written down, there's sort of a hint of Martha being on Torchwood, which you see, which is kind of cool. Rose ends up back on her world or parallel universe with a Doctor clone, a clone of her very own. Yeah.
With the human heart?
Just one heart, and he'll live at the same time she does, and all that. And this is the end of Donna. We don't have Donna anymore after this.
Very, very sad.
If she remembers, her brain will burn, and I can only hope that on her deathbed the Doctor will come visit her and tell her, and then she'll know how important she was right before she dies or something. I think that would be great.
Probably. I like to think that. I mean, there's one more moment of Donna's coming up, but I like to think. I like to think in the end he visits all of them. He makes mention of that. Actually, it's Sarah Jane Adventures with Matt Smith guest starring instead of David Tennant, but he makes mention that I went and saw them all, every last one of them. I had to see how they had gone on with their life, and he tells that to Sarah Jane. It's just very sweet.
Yeah.
So I like to think, he visits them all.
All right, let's get through the first movies, or not movies, the specials, and then we'll get to the end of time, which we have a lot to talk about there.
The Next Doctor, Jackson Lake.
Yeah.
Christmas in Victorian England.
Now, did we know he was leaving by this point?
Yes, we knew.
So this was real tricky here.
Yeah,
you're like, oh, who's this guy? He's going to be the next...
Well, yeah, and you knew it wasn't going to be that because they made too big of a deal of it. After that episode, when the next episode came, and he didn't regenerate, they said, well, but David Tennant is leaving, and we're looking for the new guy. And then, suddenly the next episode is called The Next Doctor, and they were teasing it as, does the Doctor meet a future version of himself? Find out this Christmas on The Next Doctor. It's not going to be another version of himself. What the hell? Come on. But, it was a really good episode.
Yeah, I like the whole
Cybermen in the Snow was brilliant.
Oh, yeah. We haven't seen Cybermen since season 2, the end of season 2.
Right.
So, and he says they use a dimensional vault to escape the void.
It's possible. They use the weapon that they had to escape. It's like the Dalek that escaped the Time War at the very beginning in Eccleston stuff. Like he fell through the Time War. Sure. Yeah. Okay. Why not?
Yeah. And then so they have this Cyber King. It's this ginormous Cyberman, which was fun. I like that. That was cool. And he used the dimensional vault to draw them into the time vortex at the end. So now they're trapped in the time vortex.
Again.
No, not the void. He draws them into the time vortex, it said.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know where they end up. We see them again.
We do, which I'll be excited to get there because we'll find out how do they get there, Because every time you have either the Cybermen or the Daleks or something, it's always like but I thought they were all destroyed, but I thought they were all gone. It's like, well, guess what, Doctor?
That was Russell T Davies' choice. That's not Stephen Moffat's idea.
Yeah.
He changes it up, but yeah, you're right. Something else I just wanted to note about this. This is the first time we see all of the Doctor's faces in the new show.
Oh, yeah, they do.
He shows it to Jackson Lake.
One thing I liked about this is he has his TARDIS, which is a balloon. It's the tethered aerial release developed in style.
Developed in style.
That's great. Okay, the next episode is Planet of the Dead. We have Unit again in this one. They're like, they keep coming back. This one's like midnight. What you were saying earlier is like that. There's another time a bus gets trapped. They end up on this planet with metallic stingrays, and basically he helps them get untrapped from. They went through a wormhole. And but the
another
girl,
example of a monster that isn't really a monster.
But the girl he's with, he rejects her companionship, which I thought was interesting.
Yes. At the very end of the episode, he gets the prophecy. It is returning through the dark.
And then Doctor, I actually wrote it down.
Yeah,
it says,
he
you
will
be
knock
careful,
4 times.
Because your song is ending, sir. It is returning through the dark. And then Doctor, but then he will knock 4 times. Which was like, that's a big thing. I remember seeing that and going, whoa.
And it's the only moment in that episode that isn't fun and light. The whole episode is completely useless. It doesn't matter.
No.
It's just a fun Doctor Who episode where they got some cool guest stars, and there you go. But that moment. Now, again, remember what I said? Had this been a real season, like a full season, we would have seen a lot more development. He would have been traveling on his own. You would have had him hit up, every episode would have been a different guest star. And probably a couple episodes in, we would have gotten this prophecy. And then it would have developed more and more that he knows it's coming. Because the next time we see the Doctor, that was the Easter special. The next time we see him, Thanksgiving. And that's the Waters of Mars, which we're going to get to here in a sec.
Well, we can go on. I'm done with the other one.
Oh, okay, yeah, I am too.
This one is super creepy, by the way.
Oh, Waters of Mars.
Probably the creepiest episode ever.
Yeah. It was the only episode, as far as I understand, it was the only episode that the BBC actually put an age limit and said, children under, 13 probably don't want to watch this. Children under 10, whatever it was. There are themes that might be too intense for them. And there are. That episode has many themes. Very space age kind of. It's Doctor in space. Goes to Mars.
It's another crew. And I'm like, we're going to have people dying again.
Everybody does. Yeah, well, it is. It's I'm with 2 of them. But anyways, the first Mars base and the Waters on Mars, big reference to the Ice Warriors. Big reference to the Ice Warriors, which is a big deal because we might be seeing them now in season 7.
Sweet.
But the Ice Warriors were an old enemy of the Doctor's that he fought on Mars, and there's an episode called The Pyramid of Mars where he fought that kind of stuff. And anyway, so you got this infection and water that's turning people into crazy water creatures, and the Doctor... He talks about it in 4th season. He talks about it before. The Doctor believes that there are moments that can't be changed. Yeah, moments that have to stand. And that whole speech he gives.
This event that happens on Mars is a fixed in time. A point that's fixed.
Yeah, it has to. It always must happen this way, where everybody on there dies, and they set off a nuclear device. That's what sets the future in motion. So the Doctor can't handle it, though. They're all dying. He hears them on the comm system as he's trying to get back to the TARDIS. And he finally realizes, it wasn't just that he survived the Time War. He won.
Yeah.
The Daleks are dead.
He says, I'm Time Lord victorious.
Yeah, very much so. He believes, no, it is my right now to be a god.
Yeah, and he sort of goes back there and he's like, whatever, I'll do what I want,
Time is not the boss of me, which is a quote he does later, but this goes back to even, look at David Tennant. Look at David Tennant when he was in the episode where Sarah Jane first came back with Mr. Finch. Mr. Finch telling him, if we can crack the life equation or whatever, you could be like a god and teach us and remake us in your image. And he rejects it because no one should have that power. But it takes Rose and Sarah Jane to convince him. Now he doesn't have anyone to convince him to not be like this, and he does it. He saves 3 people that he shouldn't save, and the response is, One of them that he saves, who's supposed to have died, the commander of the station, goes back into her home and kills herself to prove that he cannot be victorious, that he cannot be right. And upon doing that, he hears the song of freedom, the song of the Ood, and one of their songs, and he sees an Ood in the snow calling to him from another time and place, and it's how he knows that his time is running out.
Mm-hmm. All right, the end of time. Mm-hmm. I actually just finished this today, so I'm like, it's fresh in my mind. I'm ready to go. The first part is technically the Christmas episode, so they got some Christmassy stuff going on in there. Everybody is having these weird bad dreams about the Master, and him laughing. Wilf is seeing this woman in white, and we get some sort of closure with this, that we saw this woman's hand pick up the ring, and the Master was burned in the burial. We see that they sort of are resurrecting him, and his wife sort of ruins it, and then so now he's crazy and electrifying. You know, he's just like he's got some crazy little skull that shows up every once in a while, and he's just eating food really fast, and he's going nuts. They do the one thing they do, which I thought was really funny, is in the last episode and in this one, there's this knock 4 times tease. Like they teased like someone knocking 4 times, and even in the one, he stops the guy from knocking the 4th time, and then then this one, the Master beats on the thing 4 times and all this stuff.
And he does it 4 times each time he does it.
Yeah. And then this episode has a narrator. And then at the end of the first, or no, like right in the middle of the first part, they show this guy. And it's like, who that guy?
Yeah.
You're like, okay.
The narrator.
What's going on? Yeah, you know, the narrator. You know who it is.
So there's this thing called the Eternity Gate.
Yeah.
That's what the whole plot is around, and that the Master ends up setting this gate up so he can impose his DNA on every human being and turn them all into him.
Right.
And he does. There's a box though that you can put a person in, and as long as that person's in there, it's interference. They can't be changed, or the Master can't take over their mind or anything. So the end of the episode is the Master is everybody on Earth. He finally does it.
Right, except for
the Doctor and Wilf are the only two.
And Donna.
And Donna. And
the two cactus aliens.
Yeah. They're not human. No, So they're Bene Capolata's other cousins.
Yeah.
Basically. Mm-hmm. They're the other planet or whatever in the system.
The cacti, which is racist.
The cactus people. That's racist.
Yeah.
So the Master changes everybody on Earth, and the end of that first episode is great. Let me tell you something. The old show had a lot of Time Lord stuff, and there's nothing more frightening than when they referenced one of the 3 gods of the Time Lords, the ancient guys who actually founded Time Lord Society. The Time Lords got together and had to fight Omega, who was one of the great, he was in another dimension, basically, built of concept.
Oh my God.
He had a glove that allowed him to... Yeah, he was. He had a glove that allowed him to change reality. It was crazy. And then, of course, at one point in time, they meet and have to outwit Rassilon, who helped form Time Lord Society. The glove of Omega, the hand of Omega, in the 7th Doctor's time, was found. It was no longer in this other dimension that was destroyed, and it was a powerful artifact. And the Doctor hid it, knowing that it would be used for evil. That being said, we find out that the narrator is actually the Lord President of the Time Lords in the Time War, and it's Rassilon. Mm-hmm. And he's got the Hand of Omega, the Staff of Rassilon. He's got all these items that make him infinitely powerful, and we finally find out what the Time War was really about. The Time War isn't a war that happens linearly. It's happening in all these different points in time, and every time something happens where millions of Daleks die or millions of Time Lords die or whatever, basically it loops itself and resurrects them, so they keep finding new ways of killing each other. So the Doctor had to stop this when he realized that the Time Lords were going to do something called the Final Sanction. The Time Lords were done with the Time War. They were going to literally destroy the Time Vortex, rip it apart, end everything.
And they would evolve
into something good. The end of time itself.
Right. Which I think tops the end of reality itself, right?
Yeah. Because reality can be undone, but it happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Time's undone shit. Nothing happened.
Yeah, exactly. So you have these Time Lords. Now, he's got this glove. Is this glove... this is kind of off topic, but Torchwood, they have this glove. Is it...
Not the same.
Not the same? Like, not even, similar reference or anything? Okay.
Not even close. I mean, that could have been Time Lord, but I don't think it was. I think it was just Alien.
I liked that we find out that the drums that the Master's hearing is the heartbeat of a Time Lord, because they have 2 hearts. So it's a beat of 4. I thought that was really, really cool.
So again, that's a red herring. That's not the 4. That's not the knock 4 times.
That's not the 4. Yeah, just this tease they keep doing. So the Time Lord, the Time War is in this bubble, basically. The Doctor explains, and the Time Lords find this way of escaping the bubble. And at first I was like, and Wilf sort of expresses these concerns too. He's like, the Time Lords are bad guys, and the Doctor explains, well, you know, this is before the war. They were good, and then now the war has changed them into these.
Yeah, they evolved.
Yeah, into these sort of. They're not evil, but they just, you know, they don't care whatever. They're going to end time, you know.
Well, and remember what the Gelfs said back at the first season. What they said to Eccleston's Doctor. They said, you know, the war that raged was devastating for higher beings. You know, that there were entire species that were being dealt blows from the Time War, and they weren't even involved. The Autons, the nesting consciousness from the first episode, their planet was destroyed because of the Time War. They had to move to Earth to get away from the destruction. It wasn't their fault. The Time War was ravaging time. And the Doctor saw this, and that's the Time Lords. You see the Doctor, what happens when he gets ramped up. He does crazy ass things. Imagine a whole species of these people.
Yeah. I would love to see, now that we've learned more about the Time War, I'd love to see, you know, actually what happens. What does the Doctor do? What is he... I mean, we know he does, like, the Delta Wave, and then he escapes in the TARDIS. You know, I'd like to see all this, like what's going on, like what exactly happens, which would be great if your theory here that you have is correct.
And you know, they said the one line that I loved is the Doctor has the moment. I love that.
Yeah.
Something called the moment that allows the Doctor to stop everything, and it must be the moment right before the end of the Time War, but it's a piece of time that he has, and I love that.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so he has the gun again, and he ends up shooting the machine, which breaks the link. And then I'm assuming the Master goes with them when they go back.
Yeah, the Master, you know, so the Doctor's got the gun. He's got the choice. He can either shoot Rassilon or he can shoot the Master. Either one might actually send them all back, but either way, the Doctor has to murder someone, and he chooses not to because someone shows their face, and he realizes, wait, I don't have to do this. And when he shoots the thing. The machine, that'll send Rassilon, the Time Lords, and Gallifrey, which was coming back, send it all back into the Time War to be destroyed. The Master steps up, though, because the Master finds out that it was the Time Lords that did this to him. And just in one of those moments, he's like, get out of the way. And it's the Master telling the Doctor that this is my fight. And just him shooting lightning at them, wasting his body.
Yeah.
You know, 1, 2, 3, 4. And yeah, he keeps stepping towards them. He gets pulled in with them because he's a part of the link.
Right. So, if we ever did see him again, you know, there'd have to be some miraculous thing. How did he escape the Time War bubble, you know? It'll be something interesting. Okay, so Wilf is trapped in the thing, and the Doctor, which a great monologue by David Tennant here before he has to take all the radiation. So he goes on this tour of goodbyes, sees everybody, which is kind of fun. Martha and Mickey are together. He sees Jack. He gives him Alonzo's name so he can talk to her. He sees Sarah Jane. He sees the granddaughter of the nurse from Human Nature, which was cool. I forgot about that. And then he goes and sees Rose before she meets the Doctor, which I thought was really great.
That's one of the sweetest moments of the show.
It is really good.
That he goes back in time just so he can see her one more time and say goodbye.
Mm-hmm. And when he regenerates, it's explosive because he's held it in for so long. Correct?
Yeah. So, and that was.
So and it destroys the TARDIS. One of the big beams falls down. It's on fire again,
everywhere. And then we get Matt
Smith. Now, before we talk about Matt Smith, just really quick, we'll talk about him a lot more next episode. The last thing I want to talk about is regeneration. At first you think, okay, he's going to change into a different person, but he's still the same guy. He's going to have the same memories, but he acts like it's this big thing. He says, I don't want to go. Now, anyone else who's thinking this, Matt, I know you can help us out here. Explain, what actually happens when they regenerate. They become a different person. Why it's such a big deal.
And David Tennant talks about it. And, it's one of those things I had never even thought about in the show. It had never occurred to me. I had just always imagined he regenerates. Well, it's the Doctor. He's just a different face.
Yeah.
But the way David Tennant explains it to Wilf in the Time Part 1, he says, it feels like you die. Mm-hmm. You stop. That person, that version of you is gone. And while there's a new man with a new face, the same memories, yes, the same Time Lord, it's a different person. So it'd be like if you've got me, and then I get shot, and I regenerate, and suddenly I'm not me anymore, I'm Taylor.
Yeah.
And it's Taylor's body, it's Taylor's mind, it's Taylor's personality, but it's still an extension of my life, so it's my memories too.
Yeah, you still know all the same stuff, but...
Yeah,
you're just a different...
It's just so... I don't know. It's such a beautiful way to see it, but... And that's... doctors don't normally know that it's coming. So, I guess, you get David Tennant at the very end there. He knows it's about to happen, and he just says it. I don't want to go.
I don't want to go, which is a great last line. It's just very sad. And then we get Matt Smith, who is really good. I love him. I think he's great. But I really do miss David Tennant. I mean, he was just fantastic.
Tennant was great. Tennant deserves to be
let's give him
on the
applause.
List of best Doctor.
Just fantastic.
Well done,
I mean, way to go,
David.
And the show definitely will change from here on out.
Yeah.
That's one thing I noticed, is it's very different. But it's still good. I mean, it's still the same show. It's just kind of the feel of it, and I would say maybe like the pacing a little bit, and there's different writer and all. Well, we'll talk about this next week, but it changes.
Yeah, it's a different way to see how to make Doctor Who. It's a great way to make Doctor. It's anyone asks me now, Tennant was my favorite. Matt Smith came along and he won me over. Mm-hmm. I know Taylor you love Tennant still, and that's fine. Most people do. I think Matt Smith's the best. I think this man has embodied this part so much better than any other actor before. Tennant is so different.
Yeah, he has grown on me a lot. I really do like him. But going back and watching all this David Tennant stuff, I don't know. I'm like, I can't say he's not my favorite.
It's hard. David,
do you have any favorite moments from this season?
Oh God, there's so many. So many.
Yeah.
Love the Sooth-Off. Love the silent conversation of Partners in Crime.
Yeah.
Love Voyage of the Damned. Loved so much. Every episode had a great moment. I don't think there was a single episode this season that I hated. Mm-hmm. I did not like Planet of the Dead just because it was... All right, I was waiting for more. I knew this was the finale. I knew this was leading to the end. But, no, it was good. Yeah. The whole thing was good. End of Time, parts 1 and 2 have great moments. When the Master takes over the Earth and then it pulls back and you hear the Time Lords have returned and just every single hair in your body stands up.
And the silly joke where the Master says, it's the Master Race.
The Master Race. That's so bad. Great pun. Love it.
I would say, there's two. I don't have one favorite part of the season. There's so many couple of things. I would say probably some of the coolest stuff is just, Midnight is really creepy and cool. The library episode, the whole setup of River is just amazing. Especially now, if you go back and watch it, I'm telling you guys, it was really cool to see again. Donna is just great. I love, it's a very more funny jokes. I feel like the other two were just kind of there at being pretty, and Donna, they were like, well, she's got great comic timing, so let's give her lots of funny stuff to do.
Yeah, and make her the best friend.
And they did, and it was really great. And I just love, I love the Santarans. The Santaran, little chant.
Santara.
That's great. Yeah, I think that's it for this week. Unless you have anything else.
I do. I just thought of it. I'm sorry.
No, go for it.
I'm going to say it. My favorite scene of the entire series is by far and wide the conversation. The conversation River has with that other girl where she explains her doctor.
Yeah.
The whole, he would just... I've seen entire armies turn and run away, and he would just swagger off back to his TARDIS and open the doors with a snap of his fingers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just such an image. And then you get Matt Smith, and it's borne out. So that'll be my favorite moment.
Definitely. Well, this was a great episode.
A little long for you guys. Glad that you stuck around the whole podcast.
Yeah.
Hope we didn't jibber jabber a little too much.
No. We're as long as the season is, we got through it actually pretty quickly, I think.
Same amount of time as we did for
season 3. So
actually,
we'll once we get to the seasons, they'll be a lot shorter. It will do episode by episode.
Yeah,
they may be like
about
30,
25 minutes.
45 minutes, but those will be really great. All right. Well, have a good one, everybody.
Goodbye to David Tennant.
Goodbye.
Allons-y.
Santaran.